What's happening, guys? Riley here. Just wanted to give you an update on the Section 8 properties, how they're going, stuff I'm dealing with, all the good, the bad, the ugly, the rent, refinance, repeat process, all that good stuff. And so I'm dealing with some things recently that have been discouraging, to say the least. Still planning on keeping the properties, going through with it, whatever, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows with rentals. So let me tell you what I'm dealing with. First off, property management needs to be more transparent. If you're going to get a property management company, you need to ask them how clear they are with all the steps of the process to get tenants in, check in on those tenants, so forth. And so property management told me they had a tenant interested in my property. Keep in mind, it's been almost 9 or 10 months this property's sat. Not an ideal location, a little bit of sketchy area, industrial area, you get the point. So tenant was supposed to move in, I thought they were going to move in once I turned the electric on. So I turned the electric on. They told me I need gas. I wouldn't spend $150 on gas. Didn't need that on. So I turned that off, wasted $150. The home in the past gotten robbed for the wiring in the property. So someone broke in, stole the wiring, cost me $5,000. Now the new issue that came up is I turned on the electric. The heat was on to 68 degrees. But it's costing me around $20 a day to keep this electric going in this property because of the heat needs to be on. Now keep in mind, in Alabama, it's not that cold, but it's not that warm. Anywhere between like maybe 50 to 70 degrees every day in the winter. And so I was just expecting like a normal bill. I think it's like $17 a month I'm used to paying, but it's currently at $300, which is astronomical. So I had to call the company, try to dispute it, try to say that their reading was wrong. And I called my contractor and he said, no, that sounds about right. On these cold days, the weather can just really escape out the windows, especially when no one's living in it. And keep in mind, this whole time I thought someone was actively moving in, so they would be paying that utility. So there's my first frustration, just stuff I'm dealing with. Second thing I want to mention, refinance. So I went to go refinance this home, which is about a 30-day process if you didn't know already. So we get an appraisal done. The appraisal costs around $700, anywhere from $600 to $800. So we get the first appraisal done. I want to get the highest ARV I can in order to pull out as much as I can from this property. So get my money back, basically. So I'm about 105, 110K all into this property. And my first appraisal comes back at, I want to say, around 70, 75 or 80K for the property value. Like, that's a joke. That should not be happening. And so I call my loan officer, my lender, and I'm like, hey, we got to do a reappraisal. And he's like, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. This is ridiculous. And so I pay another $700 to get a reappraisal done. This sets me back another 2.5 weeks. So things take even longer. I get my money back later, and this property is still vacant. And so the reappraisal came back at $125,000. That's a $45,000 jump, almost 50. And so that allows me to pull, I think, 87 or 88K away from the property, which is great. It's not all my money, but it's most of it. So, I mean, if I can put, what is that, like 17,000 down and get a cash flowing asset that's paying itself, obviously I'll have maintenance and things like that, but that's pretty good. Not the best situation, but I get my money back and I get to keep rolling that into more properties or whatever investments I choose to. Last thing I want to leave about that property is that we still have a tenant interested. It's just that they aren't ready to move in yet. And so they really want the place. We have it at a great price for them. Not a price I would like, but that works for me and the refinance. I did snipe a 6.5% interest rate on this one. Couldn't tell you how. It just got dropped. I think it's because I have a better credit history now and I have previous rentals. So when you get into this, your first DSCR loan is going to be very bad terms. You're going to have a high interest rate, but as you acquire more of these, even two, like seriously, even if you have one under your belt and you're getting your second, you're going to get a lot better interest rate, better closing costs, sub 10,000 on your closing costs, things like that. And so stuff just gets better. Anyways, this tenant still is interested, and so I bet they'll move in. This is my guess, February or March, which March would be a whole entire year. Keep in mind, that's crazy. It might be even over a year. Anyways, to have a property vacant, I can't imagine if I would have had a mortgage on this and it was vacant a whole year. That's a ton of money. But luckily, I cashed this one out. So my running costs have just been utilities and property management. Actually, no property management, not until a tenant moves in. So I take that back. Anyways, on to the next property. This is my first property I ever bought, 5-bedroom, 1 bath. My mistake. Should have gotten more bathrooms in there to begin with when I did the initial construction. Anyways, a single mother moved in. She's awesome. She's great, but she's having some growing pains with the 5-bedroom, 1 bath situation. She has kids in there. She's hosting all the time. She has people over. That's awesome, but she can't have everyone using the same bathroom. It's kind of tight. And so with the current square footage, we are going to add another bathroom. Now, we're only doing this because she reached out and asked to do so, and I realize that there's a lot of value there. So when I go to refinance a property in the future, it'll be worth more. I can get my money out of it. A 5-bedroom, 2-bath, that sounds pretty desirable. And so my contractor initially quoted me $7,500 for a half bath. And I said, hey man, that's ridiculous. We're not doing that. And so he said, fine, for a full bath, we'll do $9,000, which is awesome. So we compromised on that. Around for a bathroom, if you have a cheap contractor, you're going to pay anywhere from maybe $6 to $7, $8 grand. For a good contractor who's going to do quality work, expect just under 10 grand, honestly. So if they can work it into the floor plans, you're going to get below 10 grand every single time if you're doing the initial rehab. But we're adding one later, so that means adding plumbing and moving plumbing lines. Anyways, overall, I'm going to be honest with you guys. All these homes are cash flowing besides the one I'm waiting on. And what I expect them to do, this is just how I see it. Yes, they're cash flowing little bits on each of them, but I expect all these to break even with the issues that come up, with the things that happen, what so forth, taxes I have to pay. I will get to write off a lot on taxes, so that will help a bunch. I don't know how often I can do that. I'll follow up with you guys on that, but I expect these all to break even, and they're going to be paying down their mortgages every single month. So we're talking in 30 years, or if I pay that off sooner, I will have these assets fully paid off and paid down, and the cash flow will rise. But for now, I expect them to break even until year 2, year 3, year 4. Then it starts to really add up. So for now, these will be breaking even. I'm not going to take any profit and put it in my pockets or supplement my income, like paying for rent in my apartment here. I'm not going to do that. So these are just going to be side investments, and I'm looking forward to stacking more of these. This isn't discouraging me in any way, but I just want to give you guys an update video on all the stuff I'm dealing with. Cheers. Have a good new year.